Hey, looks like we're on here. Going to give a minute or two to see if we have, you never know with a live stream how many people hear me. Anybody out there, can you hear me? The audio is probably not going to be great. I got to do the right old webcam. All right. I see a couple people joining. We're down to one. All right, let's just give it another few seconds here. All right, I see some people joining. If anybody can just jump on the, oh, thank you. Thanks, Samantha. Really appreciate that. And thanks for jumping on. All right, cool. Yeah, I have to do the webcam today, so it's a little, probably not going to be great, but hopefully it won't have any lag or anything and you guys can hear me okay. So just to start off with, here's what we'll do as people are jumping on. I'll give a recap of the IPO itself, which won't take that long. And then I will give some of my own personal thoughts on it. And then I will definitely get to the chat. So if anybody wants to put in questions or share some comments in there, you know, I'm always open to hearing it. And again, it's a big part of why we did this. And, you know, it's been a while since I've been, I actually surprised. It's been since February since I did a live stream. So it was a little bit of a crazy that I hadn't done it for that long. But summer was crazy, been busier. And but anyways, we're back. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the Rivian IPO. And hopefully people jump in. We can you know, with some questions, I can get all that. But the as you guys know, so I had the video last week, which was the analysis video, and I'm going to reference that a couple times because some of my thoughts today are still the same on the analysis video. And then obviously I put a video out yesterday. It was really more about how to get into the Rivian IPO, what I've learned in the past is when I get a video that or a company that does really well, I get more new subscribers. And so a lot of times I get the same questions all the time. And so I was really trying to give you those answers beforehand. And the questions are like, can I buy this IPO? Can I get it at this price? Why isn't it at this price? So I wanted to be really clear that an IPO is priced before public trading starts. And again, that's confusing. So I wanted to do that video to have that. So anyways, so as you guys know, the IPO was initially put out, it was going to be trading in it was expected to price in the $57 to $62 range. And that's important because if you watch the analysis video, I mentioned that I really try not to be a fanboy for any company, but as I was very clear now, that's a company I've watched for many years, and I really wanted, you know, really would have liked to buy into the IPO. However, yeah, I was probably willing to overpay just because I followed it so closely. And so I told you in that video, it probably would go to, you know, maybe 20% over the IPO price. And assuming that it was around the midpoint, but I thought even the high. So in my mind, I put in an IPO price back when I made that video last week, which I think I actually made it on last Tuesday. So it didn't come out till a couple days later. But so in my mind, I had about 74 to 75 at the top I was going to spend on it. Well, needless to say, on Friday, we had an update and they were going to price it between 72 and 74. So I knew right there my chance of getting some IPs to get into the stock the first day was probably not going to happen. So anyways, so yesterday comes along and they update it. And the IPO actually happens. I'm sorry, the IPO happens and it prices at $78. And so at $78, that just, the more it keeps getting, the price goes up or they add shares. Sometimes they add shares. It generally means that there's interest there, and there was no surprise. There's been so much public equity into the company for so long that you knew there was the interest going to be there. The question was how much, and obviously there was a lot of interest. So it came out, trading starts today. It comes out at 106.75. And I put out a little, just a little contest for everybody on the last video. And I said, anybody can predict where, where it opens. And, and I really tried to keep it to make sure you couldn't go in later. And so what I did was once it opened, I put a post to everybody and I went to the comments and I looked at them so no one could add some late ones. And there was a lot of actually there was a lot of good choices. It's hard to argue with anything because you never really know on an IPO. It probably traded still even a little higher than I thought, at least coming out. I still thought because it was so pricey, I had two thoughts. I thought it was pricey in my mind, but I also know that some people just look at the actual dollar amount and they think, well, if it's under $100, that's not too bad when you look at like a share of Tesla being like, 1,000. Now, obviously that's but they're not apples to apples, and not everybody thinks that, especially if they're newer to IPOs or stock investing anyways. And so I thought probably it might go in that mid 90 range, but I also knew probably it was going to be outside of what I was going to buy it at. But anyway, so the contest, so I went through it, and I was actually glad to see a familiar name that's been with me on the channel for quite a while now, and actually a super nice person, always comments, always very grateful, and I'm not good at pronouncing names, so if I mispronounce your name, I apologize up front, but their guess was at $108. So that was the closest one. It was $1.25 off. And that was Anuj Gupta. So thank you. You win, you get the shout out. And again, not just any shout out, you did it. Like, as much as I would have liked to say I could predict it, you just can't, but you were right on. So congratulations. And I wish I had a Tesla to give, or a Rivian to give you, but obviously I don't have. I have yet to see one. And it's been interesting because I've seen some of the comments where people are saying that, they have seen them on the Road Live and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I'm sort of envious because I've been watching this at the company for quite a long time. But so anyways, so just talking a little bit of a recap. So it opened at 106.75, and then there was a range. And it was a pretty solid range for the first day. Went up to about 119. 119, I think at 119.45, but as low as down to, let's see, 20 or 95.20. So it was a solid range. And it pretty much, I had it closing. It closed at 100, but I know post the market close, it's been up again. So I think it's maybe around 5% the last I saw. So the question, obviously, a lot of you guys have is, where is this going to go now? So, I've had a lot of IPO videos, and some of you might be newer to the channel just because of the Rivian videos that I had. There's a lot of older videos, and I don't want to tell you just to look at a ton of old videos, but we've talked about before certain things that can lead to IPO prices that can affect it. One thing is the quiet period. So the quiet period, for anybody that doesn't know this, is a period of time after the IPO hits where anybody involved with it, as the underwriters of the banks, so you think of your Morgan Stanleys and JP Morgans, everybody that underwrites IPOs, they can't put out any types of information, and the company can't either, that can sway you. So with the quiet period, you typically see in the first couple of weeks that the stock starts to come down a little. Now, this is not just typical, and this is not saying Rivian is going to do this, but if you watch it and it gets lower or it gets closer to the IPO price, most of the time that these companies that are involved with the Rivian stock, they usually have pretty positive reports once the quiet period ends. So if you watch that, and again, but it all depends where the stock is being priced. So if the price of the stock is way higher than the IPO price, then there's also a chance that the report could come out that it's overpriced and they're calling it a underperform or something like that. But if the stock sort of comes back down under that $100 range, stays there for a little while, there's a good chance that there'll be a little bit of a bump once the quiet period ends. So it's something to look for. And it's something that I'm going to look for too, because I have not been clear on this, but I as I told you what my sort of target was, it was right around 74.50 is actually what I had it. So needless to say, I did not buy it. And FOMO is a real thing. And but I've been thinking about it for quite a while now, and I just made my mind like I'm not going to chase it, especially when I see there's some indicators about just the general market that, whether it's a period of time where with this inflation numbers coming out, I mean, when the rates start going up and they're getting closer and closer, there's going to be some bigger pullbacks, and it's going to sort of be at this time. And I'm going to lead you to the second period of time that we want to watch, is going to be towards about. They've been talking about probably next summer is when the rate hikes will start, which the market will predict it before, so there'll probably be a little bit of an answer before that. But the thing with Rivian in particular is that they have a lockup period. And so a lot of people, again, if you're newer to the channel, you may not know this, but most of the shares that are out there in Rivian are not available to be traded right now. So these are all your pre-IPO shares. These are the people with the private investors, the institutional investors that have owned stock for a long time, when the company was just getting started. And so they sign an agreement that they won't, that they can't sell any of their shares for different periods of time. But for the Rivian one, it has a standard 180-day lockup. So one of the things that I would encourage everybody on this, that looks at Rivian and is going to follow them is, at some point I'll have a video on this, but consider about 6 months from now and look to see where the lockup ends. Because typically, and again, I have some videos on this, but typically as you get closer to the end of the lockup, people will start to know it's coming. So the people that can sell their shares will start to sell them. So you usually see a little bit of a dip. And then the day that the lockups expire, that gives you an idea pretty quickly if people are trying to sell. If there's a big sell, the price will drop a lot. If it doesn't drop a lot on that first day, there's a good chance that price is going to be supported. So again, don't want to get into all this today, but just wanted to share a little bit of information of what I'm going to be looking for. The biggest reasons, though, and I'm going to get to your comments here shortly in about a minute or two, but just to really share some of my main points why I just did not want to chase this stock as much as I, have followed it and I like it. It's positives. I do like the ecosystem that they have. They're following that Tesla model, and everybody that buys a car is going to get tied in. Where they're going to have these extra, whether it's the autonomous driving, which to me I think that's still a little ways off, but people are buying it, and the diagnostics and all that stuff. So we talked about in the analysis video about every car that they sell, $60,000 extra in revenue that they're expecting per the car over the life of it. So that's something that I don't think that the other competitors, and I'd say non-Tesla, are going to be prepared for. So the Ford and GM, where they're going to compete well, and this is again the concern that I have, is more competition coming. They're going to beat them on price. They're going to beat Rivian on price for sure. Tesla's Cybertruck, is going to beat it on price. Now, the thing that Rivian has going against the Cybertruck is people either love one or they hate it, and it comes to it's the same thing with Tesla. And I do, just as if anybody doesn't know this, I do own some Tesla shares, so it's not like I have anything bad to say about Tesla. But and I remember watching when the Cybertruck came out, and I saw the pictures the first time because I was very excited about it, and the stock dropped because most people thought, "What is this?" Anyways, it bounced back obviously, and the stock has done nothing great since. But so I'm not sure it's a great competitor, a direct competitor in that way. And so I think Rivian has a few things going for it. Number one, they have this model. I think they're really focusing on their battery technology, and that part's all going to make them strong. However, the competition seems to be the big thing that I just really worry about it. And they're going to have growing pains. Tesla had it. Any new company is going to have it. And the problem is they're going to have a lot more competition, where Tesla had a little bit more time between. So again, I talked a lot about this and more in the analysis video, so I don't want to go too far, too much into this, because I really want to get to your comments. And I just want to give one little plug for anybody. So this year, or just recently, last couple weeks, or about a couple months ago, I guess now, I just started a second channel, and it's in the description. It's How To with Kevin. This channel was never mostly to be about IPOs. It's really tended to be, that's where the interest is. It was really mostly to be me trying to share information, more of an educational type of thing. So I never claim to hype a stock. I'm not that kind of person. I don't, I'm not even though I tried not to come across as a fanboy of Rivian, and I probably did a little bit, but in typical, I don't fall in love with stock. My part with this is really looking at a stock, getting the data from the S1 filing, sharing my personal experiences. I've been investing for over 25 years. And I've seen the dot-com bubble burst. I've seen, obviously the real estate thing in the 2007, 2008. So that was really where the pickup has got. People like the IPO videos, so I tend to do them, and I do other things on the more of the financial side. But the other channel is going to be away from that. It's going to be things that I just learned to do, and just share it with you guys. And I put up a mailbox, and I covered a concrete. Just put concrete over a thing, but something I'd watched on YouTube, but concrete over bathroom vanity. And I thought, if it turns out bad, I'll just get rid of it. But I think it turned out good. Some people don't agree, but anyways, any support on that channel would be very appreciate that as well. So anyways, been talking enough. It's your turn to talk to you guys. And there's a lot of comments coming here. I'm going to try to address all of them. So let's just go through the top here. So I've got Epi Cookies, who was the first one. And yo. Samantha, you're the one that talked to me, and I appreciate you letting me know that you could hear me. You did not FOMO buy this time. I'm with you. I tend not to do the FOMO. I sort of, it's just psychology. In fact, I've been thinking about in the past about making a video on the psychology of investing. I never got to. Sometimes the educational videos just don't seem to do as well. So I would wish they did. I would enjoy doing those more, but good for you. And there's the update. It's a close. Oh, and see Pappy Weaving. Thanks for jumping on. Washington EUC, see you in there. You got the updates too. Beat me to it. Epi Cookie, so you found me because of the Rivian, and that's what tends to happen. So let me, just say a little bit. So last year really was just trying to focus on. I had a lot more time last year, probably like a lot of you guys with the pandemic. So I've been wanting to do a YouTube channel for. I don't know. You learn a lot from it, and so to me, that's what it's more of a learning thing for me. So something comes up, I get some information from hopefully someone that knows what they're talking about. And I saw that, there's always a lot of people that you sort of question. And so I thought, if I have the time, if I ever have the time, I'm going to make a channel. So I did. The pandemic happens. I was sort of already planned it beforehand anyways. But then I said, I got to do this. So I did it. And again, it's focusing on a lot of different things, but more basic stuff, a little bit of wellness. And actually my background, for anybody new here, not a stock person at all. I'm an occupational therapist or doctor of occupational therapy. And so I shared a little bit with that, but what really seemed to take off was when I was doing a little bit with the pandemic and the vaccines. I did a vaccine stock, and a lot of people were interested. So I thought, well, maybe that's an area where I can work on with some of the stocks. And so I did, a couple like stock related IPOs. The first one was like Albertsons, which I actually did buy in that one, and I did pretty well on that one, even though that's not a stock I would typically buy. But anyways, then the Rocket IPO came out, that did pretty well. And then we had the trifecta of Snowflake, Palantir, and oh God, what was the other one? I already forgot. Oh my God, there was three of them. And that sort of got me really in. People were really watching. So typically these kind of videos are where it gets more people in, but I hope you stick around beyond the Rivians. I will follow up with Rivian videos here and there, but it's not ever going to be a fan site. Like some channels I know are just basically they pick a stock and they'll tell you every day that why you should do this, why you should do that. And that's not, to me, you're a cheerleader at that point. And I'm not criticizing anybody else, but that's just not what I'm going to do. So we're going to always talk about it, but like I'm going to go back to, you know, videos or companies that a lot of interest in. I've done that with Palantir. And I'm sure I'll come back to Rivian. I know I will. So, all right. And then, I got Flimsy Indo. This guy has been with me for a long time. He definitely is on the second channel. So glad to see you. I know you've been with me a long time, Flimsy, and I can't tell you how appreciative, and I've learned more about Elder Scrolls from from you. So great to see you. And for anybody that's obviously new or didn't check out the comments, Flimsy has the Elder Scrolls, and that's just something in common with my fiance that he has. And I have no idea what they're talking about, so very interesting. Epic Cookie, you bought a couple shares. Good for you. I hope it all, definitely hope it works out. Again, I just could not make myself do it. I really, as I said in the one video, it's your mind, it's like that little angel on one side and the devil on the other. I made sure I tried not to go beyond what I would typically do. And so I didn't. I hope it doesn't bite me, but I'm going to watch it. And again, as I shared at the top for anybody joined maybe just a couple minutes ago, I'm going to really watch the next couple of weeks through the quiet period and see if there's any opportunities. So, all right, Louis Herta. Hey, Huerta. I don't pronounce, again, I'm not good with names, but Louis, I see you out there. Appreciate you. I know you commented in the videos in the past, so thanks for jumping on. I'm glad you enjoy them, because again, my videos probably aren't as, for lack of a better word, entertaining as some other videos. I mean, they're just all about pushing a video and they're telling you what you should do. And that's something I won't do. I will never tell you that you shouldn't buy something, because at the end of the day, everybody makes their own decisions, your own hard-earned money. So, so asking that question about the lockup period, again, their lockup seems, some companies have like different lockups where they have to hit different areas. I'm going to look more into this. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure they have your standard 180-day lockup from the time the IPO hits. So you can usually find some of this on the NASDAQ.com IPO site. So if you go to NASDAQ.com, there's an IPO center or whatnot. They list them, but they're not always accurate. But the 180-day ones tend to be. So you could look out there. And again, that'll be on my radar. So again, I plan on doing another video, more than another video, I'm sure, on Rivian. So we'll talk more about that. Samantha, thanks. Oh, I appreciate that. I'm glad you found it, very helpful, because again, it's not for everybody, but and again, it's not like I have any bunch of inside information. I mean, really what my experience is, and I've done this as a clinical consultant where a lot of my job has been training physical occupational speech therapists, but I'm really much into the research. So like looking into, things and really trying to dig it and analyzing it is something that I've done a lot of, and I feel like I've been told I've been good at it. And so when I can go through the S1 filing and try to make sense, so I really, in most cases, try to give you the information. And then I will tell you my thoughts on it, but I always try to tell you that those are my thoughts versus just saying that this is the facts. So you always usually know. And then at the end of the day, you make the best decision for yourself. There are things that I can tell you I've missed out on. So the biggest one that always gets me, I was really gung-ho on Upstart, the fintech company. And we actually had an IPO. This is when I was doing the IPO every week videos. And I talked about it. And in my mind, I was like, this is what I'm going to go after. Well, the IPO price was around 20, nothing super high, but it came out at 29. So I thought, well, this would be an opportunity. I'll get it around 22 or something. Well, I never did. And now, well, it was down big today, I know, but before that, it was over $300. So like, I can't predict the future. I don't claim to predict the future. So when you see these other channels that tell you that something's going to be like $100 or going to the moon, like take it with a grain of salt. None of us really know. And I don't claim to know. So, Tina, looking at number of pre-order for yeah, so the thing about, I was talking about the pre-orders in the comments. Somebody brought this up, and it's a valid point. But some of the pre-order numbers can be, to me, a little misleading in that they're a good number. And again, this isn't for any company. I'm not criticizing any of them, but most of them, you put up so much money, but it's not a lot, and you're not told you actually have to buy it. So there's not a lot of bite in there to say to pre-order it, right? So when I see these numbers, it makes me, I don't know. I mean, I saw like the Ford F-150, the electric one, the Lightning one. It had about 160,000 pre-orders. To me, that's a lot. It's going to take them a while to ever make those, but the point is, it's 3 times as much as the Rivians. I have some concerns with the Ford one. I know that they've been probably sharing information and all kinds of stuff with Rivian. I mean, that relationship is very interesting. And I've talked about this before in different videos and comments. Like, I really thought at one point when Ford got involved that they might just buy Rivian. And they were going to do the link in together, and then they didn't. But from what I understand, there is some sharing of things. So some of the manufacturing processes Ford has helped Rivian with. And I'm sure Rivian will help a little bit when it comes to the battery test. So I'm sure that there's more of a relationship than just the investment part of it. But again, when you see these pre-order numbers, I take it with a grain of salt. I think what it tells me, though, that there is you can say that there's a lot of interest. Will people actually buy it? It's hard to say, but what I'm really interested in, because I've been very upfront, I'm not a fan of the Cybertruck, and again, I own Tesla stock, so I want it to do well. But I just, when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is not something I could see, using. I didn't see the practicality of it and whatnot. But I also know there's a lot of people that love it, and I sort of get it. There's nothing else like it on the road. If you like that futuristic look, I get it. And I think it's just great that there's more options for people. So again, and one thing you guys will notice when I do a live stream, I tend to go on and on. Just sorry. Oh, Coupang. Yes. That was one we covered. I covered that one. Did not buy into that one. And, but we learned, but I'll tell you something else too. One I was just seeing, and of course I don't have it. I think DigitalOcean. That was one that came out. I think I'm saying that one right. I'll be first to say lately there's been so much going on. I haven't been keeping up as much, but that was one that it looked like a solid buy. But this is when everything was getting bad in March and April. If you remember, the NASDAQ took a pretty big hit. So I got a little off of not doing that, but it was right at Coupang, and I think Coupang was before that. And I really liked a lot of what was going on with Coupang, but what's interesting why I did not go with Coupang was because of their lockup agreements. They had early lockup, and they had it in different levels. So there was a lot of extra shares coming out on the market, which of course can flood it. And the more supply with the same amount of demand is going to drive the price down. So you probably saw that's what happened there. So that's why I sort of stayed away from that one. And to keep this in mind, and again, I did have that video, and I mentioned it in the previous Rivian video. I had a video for Palantir and their lockups, and really saying like how many extra shares are going to come to the markets. It's really interesting. You can look to see, because I look at other companies like Snowflake and stuff, when they came and hit their lockup would happen. But Coupang had theirs early on, and that to me was just a concern, even though I think there's so much to like about the company. But I'll be the first to say I'm always a little bit more cautious when it comes into the non-US stocks, just because of I don't know how the accounting is in other places. So anyways, but I still think, as far as what they do, they're good. It's just sometimes the stock, and it's hard to know. I'm not 100% on this either. So flimsy. Yes, I did. I thanked her, and also thanked her for you because she did the video for the mailbox post on the other channel. So yeah, you guys probably have a lot in common. JD Kendall held off from buying, going to wait. I'm with you in there. I'm going to watch it. I really would love to own the stock. Sometimes you think, should I just start with a real? And my whole plan was, even if it came to the number I wanted, which was in that low $70 range, I wasn't going to go all in then either, because I do see some issues. So what you guys are seeing right now is a very touchy market. So if people are having good guidance and a good quarter, their stock is driving way up. So on the other hand, though, if they're missing, and I'll share this with you guys again, it's not because I'm telling you to buy it or anything, because you do what you, but PayPal has taken a hit. So I just went in and got a couple shares, because it could probably still go down. But I look at a company like that and think, wow, this is an opportunity. I try not to buy at the top. Again, doesn't mean it's going to do good, so don't. But this is what's happening right now. So my concern with Rivian is they don't have the luxury of not having competition within the next year in the truck and SUV market. The SUV, they got a little bit more of a niche in the larger SUVs, but in the smaller, there are other ones out there. But the truck, I think, was really what drove, made me interested in them. And so when the earnings start coming out, if they have a hiccup, whether it's a supply chain issue, whether it's some type of a manufacturing problem or something, or whatever the case, I'm concerned that it's going to get nailed a little bit, especially in a point where interest rates are going to go up. So any company that's carrying debt is going to be affected more. So I can say this now and tell you, I'm going to wait, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be a better opportunity. It's hard for me to buy into a company, as much as I like the story and whatnot, that is valued higher than companies that have put on millions of cars. And even though I can see why the growth levels and whatnot, it's just really hard to pay that price for me. So again, I can go on and on, but Louis, you made a video. Yeah, that was a while ago. Sort of in the summer, I definitely slowed down. So and I got away from doing the IPO This Week videos. And so that's not one I've been following at all. I'm trying to actually pare down my watch list. I probably have 57 companies or something on there right now. Washington. Washington, you had a request in, you got 20 and you got 9. If I can ask you, unless you answered already, did you how did you get the allotment? Was it through a SoFi situation? Was it a direct purchase? Just curious. Or did you have like another relationship with another brokerage that had shares? That seemed to be really hard to get into Rivian's amount paid, though. So I was just curious. So the IPO is in Raleigh Joe, got your point here. The IPO, and I tried to put this in this last video because I knew it'd be a question. So earlier this year, and I did make a video on that when Robinhood said that they were going to do their IPO Access. There's no guarantee that they're going to cover every IPO. They're going to get any shares, and that's true of any of the brokerages. Like you can get some IPOs from, like, if you have a Schwab account, Fidelity. Now those ones you tend to have a lot of money into the accounts already, so it's still hard to get them. But even those companies or brokerages or whatever, they don't all have access to every single IPO. Now we had saw with Robinhood, they had the FIGS one, which that stock, well, I thought it was a good company. I was shocked. And I don't know if part of it's because of the Robinhood retail investor that helped drive that stock to what it is. I think it's a solid company, but I didn't see it doing what it did. But obviously that was the first one. So one of the first things that when FIGS's IPO came out, I went to the S1 filing and I went to see who's the shares, and see if who they were getting offered. So I know right off the bat that they're going to put if retail investors like will have an opportunity to get them. And so the two big areas right now are Robinhood with IPO Access and SoFi. So I mentioned that in that video. SoFi would have, some access there. So, but once it starts to trade, you would have, you're like where I'm now. I am an old school investor. I don't have I have like a Vanguard. I have Vanguard, and I'm happy with them. All my money's in them. I'm not telling you should do it or not, but they don't have any IPO access. So every time I buy an IPO, it's on the secondary market. So I never get those IPO prices. I have thought about having just an account for that. I just never. Things got crazy this summer, so I had to stop making some videos for a little while. But I've thought about with either doing a Robinhood or SoFi. So whether I do it or not, if I do it, I'll share that with you guys. Let's see, Louis. I didn't end up buying any shares. We'll wait for a good dip. Hopefully in a month I can. Yeah, so I'm with you. Like I said, if the opportunity comes, I'll do it. And to give you an idea, like I was just telling you guys, I bought a few shares of PayPal, and I'm not going all in on PayPal because I think they could struggle for a little while. But it's a good company historically. Now they have more competition too and whatnot. But to me, like I look at this as an opportunity because it's dropped down basically 33% from where it was. And do I think it would deserve to be over $300? I don't know, probably not. But then again, that's what the market was paying. So maybe it is. However, with Rivian, again, I think you look for the quiet periods, typically about 25 days or so. You can watch in there. And anybody that's been with me for a while knows we talked a lot about Palantir early on. I mean, I really talked a lot about them because there was a lot of interest in them. And if you look at Palantir, and I know you can watch 1,000 videos out there, and everybody will tell you it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm not saying good things or bad things about the company, but it's still a company. Had you got in before the quiet period ended, and you held those shares until today, you'd be ahead. But if you waited till the quiet period ended, basically from that point on, and that was when it jumped up into the low 20s, you're basically even for the past year. And again, that's not to knock Palantir or not. There was a lot of people pushing it. So it's just really important to we taking the information that you can get, make sure it's legit information, and then making the best decision. Again, I was wrong on Upstart. When it went to like $80, I was like, this is too high. It's going to come back down. Well, it never did. So I was wrong there. Rivian, to me, it's just I've been around long enough, to know not to fall in love with any stock. Put most of my money in ETFs, because the record shows it, where when I pick stocks, I've done pretty good. I mean, I'd say pretty good, but I've missed out on a lot of ones, but I'd rather miss a big one than lose money. So I'm more picky than that. But anyways, let's see. Tubby Ninja, it's good to love your name. Was able to get a free from SoFi. Great, cool. Yeah, SoFi. So you're asking about SoFi about a lockup. What I'm wondering is, and you guys can tell me if this is purely for SoFi, because I know with IPO Access for Robinhood, there is basically, it's not a true lockup, but if you sell it beforehand, you basically can't. I think theirs is maybe 60 days. You can't participate in the next IPO, or you could be on a timeout for IPOs or something. And there's some type of a deterrent. They don't want you to. Basically, retail investors, and that's me and you, they sort of have a bad name, because when it comes to IPOs, the concern is that people will constantly sell the shares, and of course the price will go crazy. So with IPOs traditionally being bought by institutional investors, and the fact that probably 80% of the pre-IPO shares, or 80% of the company is in pre-IPO shares, it tends to keep the price more stable. At least that's the thought. So they get concerned that retail investors will come in and, turn it into for lack of a better word, like a GameStop thing or an AMC thing. And so they want more stability, which is the whole idea with the lockup period. Is why they sell to institutional investors versus retail. So my guess is SoFi, and again, just reading here, I was not aware of that 120 days, is probably very similar to Robinhood. They don't want you to sell. The question I have for you guys, if you can answer, is, are you completely not able to sell, or is it like the Robinhood Access one where you can sell it, but you're going to get dinged? So if you guys can answer that, I'm curious. And like I always say, this channel is about, hopefully you learn something from me, but I learn a lot from you guys too. Moving on here. Something again about the Coupang thing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all live and we learn. One of my earliest things was buying. I learned early on, this was back in like the late 90s. I thought I was all into something. It was a company that was one of the earlier internet phone companies. I was all in and I didn't understand all this stuff. That was the worst investment I ever made. Luckily, I didn't go too crazy, but it was significant for me at the time. But again, a lot of my investing was in other things, so I survived it and I learned from it. So, Tina, concerned with the Rivian that the maximum value production is 200,000 per year, and it's building up to that. So you're right. We talked about, I think the analysis video. We talked about if they were able to sell every car at the I think the number I had initially was maybe that they, as in the ramp up, was about 150,000, and I could be wrong on this. And thinking that would give you about 10.5 billion in revenue. I mean, there's something to be said about having a higher price point and less vehicles. Your margins can be bigger. The margin issue is is going to be a problem when you get more competition, and that's what I worry about. So, like when the Tesla, the sedan, the S came out, like they didn't have hardly any competition. So good car, priced high, compared to like the 3, Series 3. So you consider that. My concern is they're going to have a margin, but they're going to be pressured on the price, and it's going to be what people want. And if you think that the value is good in the car, people will pay for it. But it's a tough one, and this is why I just have more concerns. Like if this Rivian IPO was like 2 or 3 years ago, I'd feel so much better out. I probably would have chased it higher than, like I said, I was willing to do this time. Because I thought they would have had a couple of years to just get it. And remember, it's only been a couple of years that Tesla has really pumped out a lot of vehicles, and they're still growing. So, and I know that they're looking at also Rivian looking at trying to get a second plant. So I mean, they have plans. I think maybe get to about 300,000. And again, this is off the top of my head, but it's a valid question, and I think it's good to have small volume if you can get a good margin, but if the competition's pushing the price down, it's an issue. And this is one of the things, you got a lot of questions early on about certain sectors, and people, there's a lot of interest in the cannabis sections. And I always explain why that wasn't an area that I was interested in. The question, the thought process is it's going to become legalization take everywhere. There's going to be a huge market for it. But in my case, there's so many companies out there that can sell a product that's not copyright or trademarked, that anybody can sell it. There's no patent on it. And it pushes the price down. So when you have different companies putting things out there, there's a pricing pressure. Rivian is going to have to not get into that race to the bottom on prices. Because if they do that, it's going to be a struggle for them. So that's why they have some of these other things, the diagnostic packages, the infotainment thing, all this stuff. Like they're going to need all that. But if the prices, they have to start putting the prices down, that could be a red flag. And I guarantee you the shares would drop if you see that. Sophia Lee, do you think the share price may go down below 80 in the near future? I think there's a possibility, but I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, to me, I could see it definitely going under 90. I don't know if it'll get to 80 anytime soon, but I would not be surprised if there wasn't an opportunity a little bit further down the line. So again, I'm not claiming to know this. So watch it. So thanks for answering that. Really appreciate it. Okay. So they're very similar. Thank you so much for clarifying that. So they're very much what Robinhood is doing in that they're basically saying that if you do the quick turnover, you could potentially miss out on the next or future IPOs. So, oh, they do charge you though. So you actually get, oh, okay. All right. Oh, and I got some more stuff here from Tubby Ninja. So yes, Sophie says if you sell within the first 30 days, they consider you a flipper and maybe participating for 180 days. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Oh, and then you updated it. Okay. 365. Okay. Yeah, so that's sort of news, news to me. So I learned something too. But yeah, a lot of people, especially since the pandemic, have really gotten into the market, and which I think is great. But I know a lot of people have watched a lot of these videos from people out there, and they do some pretty crazy stuff with margins and all that. I would, yeah, that's not what I do. I'll be upfront. I typically buy to hold. For a long-term type of investor. There's been a couple times where I've done it quicker than I even was planning on doing it. But yeah, I think when it comes to an IPO, there's always a risk there to go in quick, because you start seeing if you have to hold it for 120 days, there's a concern that you can go. But I think if you're at 120 days, you still got enough period between the lockup period where you could probably look at selling then if you think the stock's going to go down. So Flimsy, do you have any picks and shovel for the electric vehicle sector or green energy? Honestly, right now I don't have anything. My concern with this, particularly with the EVs, and only because I've looked more and more at it with Rivian, again, there's just so many coming out. Yeah, you used to have the traditional, you had the EV companies, and now you have the traditional automakers. And I don't think the traditional automakers are going to excel necessarily right out of the gate on these. I mean, we've seen that with GM. They've done things, and there's been pluses and minuses, and they've been priced better, but people have knocked some of the quality. And what was it, the Bolt that had an issue with fires or whatnot? So it's an area that at this point it's hard for me to justify getting in. So my Tesla stock that I own, so early this year, beginning of the year, just to sharing this with everybody, I sold about a third of my position on it. And that basically covered everything I put into it plus more. So I was very happy with that. And has been really debating in the past week when it was way up. And of course, I probably should have at least trimmed a little bit more. I still like the Tesla story. And they always tell you is if you wouldn't buy the shares now, then you probably should sell them. Now, I don't tend to follow that. For example, I wouldn't buy the Tesla shares now, but I still see that there's a potential for those shares to go up. And that could be, part of that psychology thing we were talking about earlier. But it's just sort of how I look at it. There's another company that I own, again, not has anything, and this is the longest company I've owned. I have AMD. I've had AMD for 20 years, and I've still some bad years with them. They're to the point where, should I sell? But they're just so far ahead of what everybody's doing, was particularly Intel and whatnot, that I just don't see myself. I just can't make myself sell those shares. So I say not to fall in love with the share, but there are some stocks that I do see keeping. right now, I'm just hesitant to buy a whole lot of individual stocks. And so buying PayPal was the first one I've done in a little while. Just because when things are at, like, it was in April of last year, it was easy. I mean, I was buying stuff as it was dropping every 10% the market was dropping. It was easy to do well with good companies, getting them cheap. Now it's harder for me to predict which ones, and EV to me seems a little crowded in green energy. I had done a video on watching a channel called, like, so a lot of channels I don't like out there, and but I made a video. I'd come across Ben Felix. Some of you guys might know who that is. I made a video on it. He's got some really good stuff, but one of his thing was the environmental types of stocks, or the ESG types of stocks. And he talks in one of these videos about how the expectation is, when you look at all the factors, he talks about factor investing a lot, that you're likely to get overall probably less of a return than in other areas. So if you might want to look into his channel. Like I said, Ben Felix is his name, and you might get some more information there as far as that goes. But I don't have any. Good question, Flimsy. I wish I had more to tell you on that. Puppy weaving. Oh boy, I'm doing good. I really try to be good on getting to as many comments, and and I'm somebody that really tries not to get crazy, but trying to get the support of the channel. But obviously, I always try. Like I'm not somebody that wants to go crazy with these channels or not. So when you guys jump on, I'm very thankful that you jump on here. So happy leaving. I got it on Ameritrade, but it's not available at Fidelity. The actual, now that it's not available now, if you can answer that, it should definitely be available now. I could see not being available as an IPO. Black Band stock is overpriced, and again, it's one of those things. I always tell people that buy the shares and don't buy the shares. Like, my thing is, it's a little rich for me, but sometimes when the price is what the price is, so I feel like an old guy sometimes when I say everything's too expensive, but somebody's willing to pay for it, and so it's hard for me to say that it is, but as I shared, it was more than I was willing to spend, so I didn't buy any shares. And anybody joined late, I was sort of, as you had heard in my analysis video, I was sort of looking at 20% over the initial range, which was the $57 to $62. So I was looking at about $74.50 as my top. That got blown out when they upped the IPO, so I knew I wasn't going to be in there. Oh, Pepe, it's not under the search. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a Ameritrade, actually. So my HSA uses TD Ameritrade as the, so I had this Lively. I have a video on this too. I'm a big fan of HSAs. If anybody's been the channel, HSAs, IRAs, 401ks, like that's where you can make a lot of money and do it safer. But anyways, so Ameritrade, you said it's on there. So I didn't know. I could have looked in there, but I don't have a Fidelity account anymore. I used to, but again, pretty much try to keep everything. I've been really trying to keep everything in just less areas. It's just harder to follow. Flimsy, I think it's not a good ASG following. Thank you. Appreciate that, Flimsy. I mean, like I said, I always enjoy hearing from you. You ask me some good questions and make me think. And to me, that's the whole thing about the comments. So when you guys watch a video, anytime you can push that like button, it's not because I want it for my ego. It really just helps me with YouTube and the comments. When you guys are willing to interact with me, it sort of helps me with the algorithm. You guys hear about the algorithm probably all the time. It definitely helps me. So Flimsy, you probably helped me a lot with the algorithm, and but I enjoy it. And like when I see names, there's a couple names I hadn't seen for a while, but they came back on the Rivian because they're just those true IPO people, but I've been doing some other things too. So whatever. But Paradox Scam. Oh, so you're saying $5 give you the option to buy? Okay. Yeah. So you guys, I don't know. So, I always enjoy that you guys are sharing the information with yourselves. And I've tried. one of the things I really wanted to do last year, and it just became a time thing, was I was really looking at doing something off of YouTube where like whether it's going to be a Discord or whatnot. I just never, just didn't feel like I had the time to really do that, because I think you guys sharing information is great. But in the comments, we have a lot of comments, and I really do my best to answer as much as possible. And again, other people will jump in, and I always enjoy that. So there's a lot of there. So when you guys are watching the video, definitely feel free to put a comment in there. All right, Amazon will buy them out in a few years. Tesla is the next Tesla. Oh, okay. Well, like I said, I own Tesla, so I'm with you on that. Oh, we're getting near the, oh, it's almost been an hour. And I think I'm caught up. So, so maybe finish with that. So the Tesla is the next Tesla. Again, I own shares of Tesla. I know Kathy Wood's like, it's going to go to $3,000, and you start to hear that, but I'm probably thinking I probably should have sold last week before Musk went on and started talking about selling shares and stuff. So anyways, it's been almost an hour, so I appreciate for you, anybody stuck here the whole time, really appreciate it. Again, if you're new to the channel and you just popped in to see this video, definitely subscribe. I mean, and share the videos. Anything you guys can help me do to grow the channel lets me put more time in here. You know, I'm not somebody that puts like asking for this or not, but anytime you watch a video, it supports it. You push the like button, it supports it. You comment, it supports it. You know, sometimes in the past, I've had people do like the super chatters, you know, where they put some money in, and I don't never beg for that. But anything that you guys do is helpful to me. And I really appreciate that. So looking at doing some more videos. I'll have a Rivian follow-up video, so don't leave me. If you just came because of Rivian, don't leave. But I'll have other videos as well. And again, some of them will be educational. Some of them will be on the IPOs. Stick with me. If you want to see other types of videos, go to How To with Kevin, my second channel. Any subscribers I can get there will help me. Right now, I'm not monetized on that channel. It's just so new that I don't have enough subscribers there. But I didn't want to put a lot of stuff. If you truly only want financial videos, I didn't want to bombard you with videos you didn't want to see. But and again, any support you guys can give me, I really appreciate it. And Tubby Ninja, thank you for subscribing. I'm again thankful for all of you guys that have been on here. I see 45 right now. People really appreciate it. Let me finish the last two comments. I'm going to stop with Flimsy and Tina. Musko's like, yes, that's exactly right, Flimsy. And I was thinking about going into that but then I didn't want to go into a tangent. But you're right. And I know that this came up last year, in the past year with Palantir, because we've talked a lot about a lot of insiders selling. A lot of that has to do with that as well. They have to sell the shares just to cover the taxes for the options expiring. But I wish he just would not go on Twitter and do stuff that hurts the stock price. It just kills me. And Tina, I will end on your thing. Thank you. Very useful following you. And I am so thankful that you are on board with me. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Hope to talk to you guys soon. Again, I'll have more videos out, so keep that notification bell turned on, and I will be talking to you, like I said, sooner than later. Have a great day.